friends, welcome back to my channel. So today, not only am I in a baking mood, but the month of February is very special to me and my family because it's my birthday, it's my husband's birthday, it's my twins' birthday, it's my brother-in-law's birthday, and it's Valentine's Day, of course. So I have turkeys for puppies, and who just got something he's not supposed to have, so I'll see you in a minute. So first things first, we have to make a freshly brewed coffee. I think the recipe calls for a couple cups or a couple cups and a half. And I want it to be a really, really yummy kind. So like I have a Starbucks pumpkin spice blend, but that's not going to work for this recipe. So some of the best coffee around here in Montana is Montana Coffee Traders. They're kind of all over the place for the most part. And this is a dark roast. So this should be really, really yummy. I'm just going to make a tiny bit here. Not going to quite fill our grinder. My husband and I usually buy whole beans, because it's a huge difference in taste and you experience every day. It's really good. So I'll put that in there. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and the Pacific Northwest is known for their coffee, pretty much like Seattle area and stuff. And there are some really good coffee shops, but this is pretty good too. And I just wanted to point out briefly, I got these flowers in a shopping vlog. It might be the one before this, I'm not sure, but if you take a look, they bloomed. And I got a couple roses that were $1. Look how pretty that is. And let's do a weather check. It is currently, oops, snowing. In order to get a decent view of the snow, sometimes if it's light enough, I have to get some footage next to a dark tree in order to let it show. But anyways, aren't those pretty? So this recipe, I thought this one called for coffee, and I must have wrote down a different one. But that's okay, we're going to work with it. So this wants 1.5 cups of buttermilk. So this is what I'm going to do. Since I'm already brewing the coffee, I'm going to do about 1 cup of buttermilk. I'm going to make that right now. And basically, if you don't have buttermilk at home, that's okay. Just take whatever milk you have. So I have half and half here that needs to be used up. And you could use oat milk. I mean, heck, you could even use sour cream, I'm sure. Because basically, you just kind of want, you know, buttermilk is sort of, not sour like a bad sour, but it has, you know, a very, hard to describe. Like, you know how yogurts sometimes can be a little bit like, it's really hard to explain. But basically, sour cream would achieve the same thing. So, rice wine vinegar, that's all I have. I'm going to eyeball it a little bit, but basically, I believe it's 1 cup of whatever milk you choose, and then I don't remember if it's 1 tablespoon or 2, but again, I eyeball it, so I'm not too worried about it. That's it. Stir that around a little bit. And I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so I have the oven set at 300. That won't take long at all to preheat. My milk is hanging out. Basically, the vinegar is kind of going to give it a little bit of a texture and kind of thicken. And then my coffee, I took half a cup and I stuck it in the freezer just to kind of cool down just a little bit. So now we're going to work on the dry ingredients, which this wants I just saw it. What happened? Really? That doesn't. Okay. Well, I I took a screenshot of the recipe and I wrote it down. And I re-looked at it, and there's like an ad blocking the very tippy top. So I can't double check to see if there's flour. But I did reread the screenshot, and there's also no sugar included. So I looked up a basic chocolate cake recipe, and I'm still going to use this, but I'm going to add in flour and sugar because that just seems odd to me. Unless it's sort of one of those flourless chocolate cakes, which have their place too, but that's not what I'm trying to make. So we will wing it, and I have it written down, so in the description I will write down everything I did and how it turns out in the end. Hey, sometimes that's what working in the kitchen is. It is experimenting. One thing I know for sure, when you're making a cake, especially when you're making a cake, it's really good to sift your ingredients. Brownies, for instance, are a little more dense, and so you don't always need to sift, but for cakes, for the most part, you do. So I'm going to be doing 2 cups of flour. I'm going to say see me. You know, some of my best recipes I've ever made that I always go back to are the ones where I read like 2 or 3 of them and I was like, you know, I think it would taste better if I did this one and this one. And so that's the way I cook. I really like it when there's no rules. It's not always my favorite to follow a recipe because I really like to do it just sort of by sight. I need 1 more cup of flour here. Hang on. My oven is done. So, I was homeschooled growing up, and when you're homeschooled, you can do more untraditional things. So like we made cookbooks, and we tried new recipes. We joined a 4-H where we did cooking classes and stuff like that. So not only did you work on your math and your science and whatnot, but you also did a lot more like home ec type of stuff. And so I've been experimenting for a while. All right, so I'm just gonna start sifting. Might be faster getting a spoon. Let's see. Or like this last Thanksgiving, I made a pecan pie, and I added bourbon at the last bit because I was like, hey, I've heard of that before. Bourbon pecan pie, yeah, that's probably amazing. So there you go, that's what I did. Right now is actually the perfect time to be making this cake because the dogs are sleeping. And the snow is falling. My sweetheart will be home soon. It's a good day. Okay, so we've got our flour. Now, our baking soda. 3/4 of a teaspoon. I won't worry about sifting that. And baking powder. Did I bring that out? No, I'll get that. We'll skip that step for now. So let's do our chocolate. A little bit off the top. This one's 1.5 cups of cocoa. Very chocolatey cake. I won't worry about leveling that off. That is about the rest of that. Okay. My cocoa powder here was a little clumpy, so that's good that I'm doing this. You know, I'll bet that's how some of these people made these recipes, is because, you know, just trial and error and deciding what they liked and didn't like with different recipes. Alright, and salt. 1.5 teaspoons. That's going to take all day. Okay. Does this pop off? This lid has been stuck, so let's grab some of that and my baking powder. Okay, got some. Rolly, hey, you mind? Oops. He's eating my tripod. It's not my favorite thing to have salt in these shakers, because if you ever need to open them, salt gets everywhere. Alright, it said okay. 1 1/4. I like a little touch of salt in my cakes when I make them. So I'm glad that that's in there. Alright, we're almost done with our dry ingredients, so let's do our baking powder. 3/4 of a teaspoon. Alright. Stir it around with my spoon. And that is it for my dry ingredients. That smells good already, and I haven't even really done anything. Alright, let's see. We need a container. Larger than that. Okay. This is kind of small, but if I have to, I'll get a big one. Alright. So now, 3/4 cup vegetable oil. All of my cup measurements measurements seem to be going. Rolling. Hey. You can always count on Ree Drummond. Okay. 3/4 cup of vegetable oil. Alright. 3 eggs. So for those that don't know, we have chickens. They're not laying yet, but when we are, I am so looking forward to it. If you haven't had a fresh chicken egg, you are missing out. Alright, our buttermilk. Alright, and some vanilla. And I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to add some cinnamon. There was a cake recipe that I did a while ago and it had you add some cayenne. And it was a delicious cake. So, alright, I don't want to add my coffee into here yet because it's probably still hot. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to double check that I put in everything, which I did. And I'm going to slowly mix in my flour to my mixture. Don't forget to pull out a block of cream cheese to soften a little bit while your cake is in the oven. I am not always the best at cleaning up as I go. I try, but for sure when I have a recipe where it's kind of in stages like this, or something's like in the oven briefly, I really try to clean up. Because when you cook at home, you use more dishes. That's just the way it is. Alright, so I have my two 8-inch rounds here, and I have a couple options. I could take some parchment paper, and usually what I do is I make two rectangles and I kind of fold them in on itself, so it makes like an X and I can lift it up and out. Or you could do a little bit of butter and flour on it, but I'm just going to put on some cooking spray. Okay, and this is how my batter turned out. As you can see, it's pretty thick. Alright. Now, to try and do this equally among the two. Just spreading this equally around. So it's like my batter is probably a little over a quarter of the way filling the pan. Not quite half. Alright. So, this is what we have. So, I'm going to put these in the oven and check and see what the recipe said. Usually it's about half an hour or so. But to be certain, I'm going to get a butter knife or a toothpick and insert it into the middle, and when it comes out clean, they're done, and I will let them cool. See you in a bit. So the cake is in the oven. We have a little bit more time left. The snow has picked up, so I thought I would show you. I feel like Buddy doesn't always get a cameo. Here he is. He's deciding if he wants to go outside or not. This is my classic cream cheese frosting. I usually use about a stick of butter, 1 block of cream cheese, and then like a cup or two of powdered sugar. Today, though, I'm going to make one with a peanut butter flavoring. So I had some PB2 powder on hand, which is just basically dried out peanut butter. And if you didn't have that, then you would just add some peanut butter, you know, a spoonful at a time until you got the taste you wanted. But it would also mean that you would probably have to use more powdered sugar because you want it to be the right consistency. And as always, I will leave a recipe in the description. And you're just going to keep mixing and mixing until it's all whipped up. And make sure to taste it for the right amount of sweetness and peanut butter flavoring. Store this in a really cool place or in your refrigerator so that it can set up some more. And then take it out just a few minutes before you're ready to use it so it can soften up just a little bit. So as soon as these were done being in the oven, I put them in the freezer, maybe for like 15 minutes, just so they would cool, and then I can put the frosting on more easily. Look at that, like butter. um, Vegetable oil works great. Um, so these cakes I also noticed, they are so pretty, like shiny. Um, so, if you're not in a frosting mood, you could even just take a little bit of powdered sugar and just kind of lightly dust the top if that's your thing too. They're just so pretty to look at. They really turned out really, really great. I was quite pleased. So this is an optional step. I had some peanut butter chocolate chips and some peanuts that I wanted to use, and I just put them in my blender and just kind of crushed them just a little bit. You could also just put a few peanuts on it so that people know exactly what they're eating. You could shave a little bit of chocolate, or, if it's someone's birthday, do sprinkles. But I always like to use a little bit of a peanut based decoration so people know, hey, there's peanut butter in this. Oh, there it is. fudgy, perfect texture, peanut butter and chocolate. This was so good. You have to make it. Thanks for watching.